R&B diva Karen White, the queen of New Jack Swing. She's up next. Let's talk. What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode over here of Pepe's Point of View. I'm your host, your R&B historian, Pepe, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in, you returning viewers, you new viewers, you subscribers. Thank you guys so much for checking me out and for supporting me. I really and truly do appreciate it. And we are entering into part two of Karen White. Okay, we are discussing the queen of New Jack Swing, Karen White. And as I said in the previous video, I didn't give her that title. Someone gave her that title on their it was on Facebook, a Facebook page someone has, and they gave her that title. And I just so happen to agree with that. Well, without further ado, let's just dive right into it. If you hadn't seen the first video, please check out the first video. But I'm going to recap. And basically where I am recapping a little bit of what I said in the first video. And we're going to talk about Karen White's second and third album. All right. Now, I don't know if I'm going to talk about this album as of yet. I'm not quite sure. Or I might. But anyway, I just so happened to stumble across this album. I was in a bookstore. Well, yeah, you can say a bookstore, a video store back then when we actually had those stores. It's just so weird to see that these things are gone. But anyway, let's just say a music store. Selling movies, music, and all things music related. Okay. So anyway, and I just so happened to come across this album, and I say, you know what? Hey, let me check this out. Let me, buy it. I bought it, but I didn't hear it. All right. So I'm going to have to actually listen to this to let you guys know what it's about. But, hey, when you're a music fan and you love music and then you love the particular R&B diva, you know what? I still say go out and get it. Let's dive right into it. What I liked most about Karen White's debut album, and as I said before, I say it again, cut for cut, it is an artistic gem. It really is. This is an album that you basically hit the play button and you just let every track play, and you're going to repeat a couple of songs before you finish listening to the entire album. It is what it is. Now, also what I appreciate about what L.A. Reid and Babyface did for this album is that they did not abandon the sound that she and Jeff Lober created. And the reason why I say they created simply because, they obviously, she's singing on the track. He's, the producer, whatever. The Facts of Love single that came out that was like pretty much like what a top 20 hit on the R&B charts for Karen White. And, pretty decent track. I liked it a lot. I still like it a lot. And I mentioned in the previous video that I thought, growing up, this song was titled The Facts of Life. And here to find out, years later, I've always known that it was The Facts of Love, in my adult years. But in my teenage years, I was thinking the song was called Facts of Life. So think about me walking around singing the song and thinking it's the facts of life. Ew. I appreciate what L.A. Reid and Babyface were able to do with that. They didn't abandon the sound. And I guess you can say what I'm doing right now is we're talking about the making of an R&B diva, right? Because now here you have Karen White. She's had some success. And now you basically have to go in and ask yourself, I'm pretty sure the executives who probably already knew what they wanted to do with Karen White anyway, right? They probably just said, all right, we have this in mind for you, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. And let's just say she was the one who, kind of went with the flow, like, oh, okay, well, that's how you want the image to be? Is that how you want me to sound? Hey, it is what it is, Maybe she just went along with everything, but I would like to think that she had some input. But anyway, so they do that, and they have some success. It's a certified platinum album. The Way You Love Me is Superwoman. I believe they go to number one. Both of them, earn gold certification as well, right? And she ends up racking up several more number one singles, such as Love Saw It, and she will eventually get around to releasing that pop hit, Romantic. So she's successful. I still say she should have sold a lot more albums. I just say that simply because we have the king and the queen of New Jack Swing, Bobby Brown and Karen White. We can officially say that, right? I think you guys will agree with me. So we have the king and the queen of New Jack Swing. And I thought about this from the previous video. And I was like, maybe the reason why Karen White didn't sell as many records as Bobby Brown is because, well, Bobby Brown image, he has even still today, this bad boy image, right? And so maybe that's what it is. Some people say bad press is good press, right? Bad press still sells records. Bad press still, put you out there. People are talking, and if they're gonna see your name in the in social media or in the tabloids back then you're going to sell records. Everybody's going to want to know who Bobby Brown is. Well, I guess people wasn't, she didn't dirty up her image enough, right? You see what I'm saying? That's pretty much why I was thinking like, well, maybe Karen White is not the bad girl. And so that's the reason why maybe she didn't have the success that she could have had. But then I'm saying to myself, like, well, yeah, that could be the case as well. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, you just never really know. Is it marketing? Is it management? Is it the record companies, or at least the record executives at the time? Like, what helped this album, okay? What helped this album get to where it got to? And then what hindered this album from getting to the places that it could have gotten to? You see, so it's kind of like, yes, it's successful, but it's not that successful. They spent 7 weeks on the R&B charts at number one, which I'm saying to myself, 7 weeks at number one, and all you get is let me stop. All you get is a platinum album. I'm bringing this up because now I'm thinking about the Kelly Price video that I did. And when I was discussing Kelly Price's album Soul of a Woman, I still say that album is a good album. I'm just so surprised that I liked her first album as much as I do. And I actually like the second album. I haven't finished with Kelly Price. I'm going to talk about a second album. I just had never gotten around to it. I've listened to it, but I've never gotten around to discussing it. But anyway, long story short story long. But I like to think that the Kelly Price situation also was kind of maybe similar to the Karen White situation, where with Kelly Price, she actually had some issues with T-Neck Records that was headed by Ron Isley, and there was a lawsuit. And so I'm going to assume that that's probably what kept Kelly Price's album from reaching multi-platinum success, because that's just a good album, right? Now, I'm thinking with Karen White, and just thinking out loud, and all of this stuff, it's alleged because I'm just having a conversation and thinking out loud. That's what we do here. We talk about music, and you know what? I look forward to you, discussing your opinion about certain things as well, because you don't have to agree with me, about any of this. But I'm definitely looking forward to you, participating in, some conversations, right? So let me show this real quick because I want people to think that this is true. This is just, on top of my head. Something hindered the album from having the success that it could have had in multi-platinum status, is all I'm saying. And maybe the album has multi-platinum status as of this moment in time, and I'm just unaware of it. But moving right along from that, because we want to talk about her next album, which is called Ritual of Love. Now, the thing that I said about Shirley Murdoch also, I think, has a lot to do with what I'm about to say about Karen White. And check out the Shirley Murdoch video as well. And what is that? Shirley Murdoch starts out with a sound. And we love that sound, that Zapp and Rogers sound. But what we get with Shirley Murdoch is Shirley Murdoch slowly, every album, she gets away from that sound until she gets to her third album. And that third album sounds very jazzy, but oh my gosh, it's such a good album. Oh my gosh. Let There Be Love. It's just top notch. I mean, that's the best album in her catalog, in my point of view. Now, but what we get with Karen White, and follow with me on this. Karen White's second album, in my head, I'm saying to myself, like, wow, you ever get the feeling that when you've had your success, and let's just say it's your debut success, and everything is just, it's great, it's wonderful, the public is liking you, the professionals are liking you, like everything is just kind of gelling and coming together, everything is wonderful, it's all good, and then all of a sudden, either the success of the album kind of, fizzles because, it's records come off the charts. So now the record is off the charts, or the record is, slowly losing its, shine. And so now everyone is saying, all right, we got to go back in and we got to make this magic happen again. And so they go back in, and now it's time to brainstorm, what we're going to do. And we got to capitalize on this success. It's just what it is. I mean, that is a given. You should automatically think that this is what all of the executives and Karen White and everybody is going in probably thinking. It's just, it's a given. But when you do that, sometimes I think what people kind of miss is that everything is trying to be done over the top. Maybe you did everything with the first album on a shoestring budget, right? But now let Karen White say it, it's not, that wasn't the case. It wasn't a shoestring budget. Like they really threw out a lot of money, to make sure, that they got, a great album. And I'm here to tell you, with the majority of this album being produced by L.A. Reid and Babyface, I'm pretty sure they kicked out, a lot of money to L.A. Reid, Babyface, and Daryl Simmons there. But here's what I'm saying, is that now they're trying to capitalize on that success. And they're probably putting a whole lot of money in it. And now with the first album, to me, the first album had some grit, right? It had some rough edges to it. And what I find with the Ritual of Love album, this is just me, you try to fine tune everything. You cutting the rough edges. You're polishing things up. And to me, it kind of loses a certain, what I'm trying to say, a certain feel to it. People, when you're trying to expand, you expand, of course, because obviously, if I'm not mistaken, I think Romantic is like a huge Billboard hit for her as well, right? I mean, Romantic really, did some things for her, and it was on the charts all over the place. And, I know it's number one on the pop charts. And of course, as I said, it went to number one. And I'm looking at this and it says it's ranked number 28 on Billboard's 60 sexiest songs of the time. So as I said, it was a pretty big hit across the board for her. And congratulations to Karen White for that. But I guess what I'm saying is that when you do that, it still kind of loses. It still doesn't have the feel as the first album to me. It just doesn't. And so since we're talking about the Ritual of Love album, you know, the single Romantic pretty much picks up, or it starts where, you know, the first album left off. This time around, Jamie Lewis, of course, she's working with them on this album. And here's what I'm thinking happened. It's kind of like, okay, Jeff Lober. Oh, wow. We have Facts of Love. That sounds really good. Maybe we need to keep her in this same frame. You know, we don't want to abandon an audience that she's already captured. So let's just kind of play off this. I'm just saying, this is what L.A. Reid, Babyface, and maybe Darryl Simmons and the record companies of Benny Medina, they're saying, all right? And so now she's no longer working with L.A. Reid, Babyface, and Darryl Simmons. She's working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and a couple of other people. And so now what we have here is we have these producers and probably the record company is saying, well, let's make another, you know, Karen White album with these producers. We're talking about Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, of course. So let's make another Karen White album using these producers. But here's what I'm finding is that L.A. Reid and Babyface and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are definitely their own artists, right? They're their own artists. Well, not artists, but they're their own producers, and they have their own sound. And I would like to think that everyone, for the most part, if someone can capitalize off of what L.A. Reid and Babyface was able to accomplish, or piggyback what they were able to accomplish, mimic what they were able to accomplish, or follow up to what Babyface and L.A. Reid were able to accomplish with Karen White, then of course Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are definitely the guys for, or they're the guys up for, you know, the assignment. You would have to think that way. And so of course they go in and they really and truly they nail it, right? You know, having worked with Janet Jackson and Sherelle and so on and so forth. So they pretty much nail it. You know, when you hear the song Romantic, I would like to think that everybody who heard it was like, oh, this is great. And this is definitely, you know, single potential. Like this song is definitely a song that's going to be a single, right? But what we end up having here is that because they did not work with Karen White on the entire album, right? They didn't do that. It's like now the album comes off uneven. Now I would like to think that I'm not quite sure. You know, we have to ask the question now. You know, this is a great time to ask the question. Like if I had to ask Karen White a question, I would say, why not Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis the entire album? Did they not have enough time? Were the record label not willing to dish out the amount of money that they dished out? Maybe, you know, contractually, that it just wasn't, the numbers wasn't adding up. And now I'm saying to myself, like, I don't know how much they paid L.A. Reid and Babyface to do it, but can they do this? Obviously, is Jam and Lewis asking for more money than, you know, what the project allowed? You see what I'm saying? So there's so many politics that are involved in it. Oh, child. But here's the good thing. The good thing is that the album still ended up being a success for Karen White. Isn't that the good thing? And so now she's working with people like Christopher Troy. And by the way, for those of you who have watched and you are aware that I do have Sherelle's album, The Woman I Am, and Christopher Troy worked with Sherelle on that album. And I think the song is called 7 Days a Week. And this album was released in 1991, and so was Sherelle's album, The Woman I Am. It was released in 1991 as well. I'm saying all that to say is that these guys, Christopher Troy, uh, definitely, and Zachary Harmon, obviously were guys up for, the challenge, and they delivered. They delivered with the song, The Way I Feel About You. Definitely. So now, with the next single, Ritual of Love, or the next song on the album, with Ritual of Love, it comes off ritualistic, right? You can get the feel that the producers were really trying to, capture that feel. Jam and Lewis, of course, was trying to really capture, that ritual type feel with this album. And I think for me, it's kind of like, did it work? Yes. No. I really don't care for the song Ritual of Love, but I am aware of what they were trying to do. Definitely. And, for that, you can't argue with it. Then you have the song, of course, The Way I Feel About You. And I think it's safe to say I like the song, is what it is. And then you have another song called Hooked on You. And I'm saying to myself, now I see that Janet and Sherelle sound, but it doesn't work for Karen White, because Karen White is a different singer. And if you remember what I told you guys about Karen White in the beginning of first part of the video, you remember I told you that Karen White says she doesn't care too much for to listen to female singers. They're not her thing. In an interview that she once said, she prefers to listen to male singers. Those, she wants to sound more like the guys than the girls. And maybe that's the reason why it doesn't work, because they gave her this Janet Jackson, Sherelle type song with Hooked on You. And then we get to the next single, Walking the Dog. And as I'm listening to the song, I never liked this song. I didn't like the song. I didn't like the video. I just didn't. It kind of just, I was just turned off when I saw it. But when I was listening to it this time around, I was like, this sounds familiar. Walking the Dog is a Prince song to me. And I really truly do think that Prince could really pull that off. It's definitely a Prince song. And then, of course, there's a song, Love That's Mine. I'm like, okay. And then we get to a song called I Want You Now. Slow song, and I like it. I have it highlighted. That means I like it. I'm going to listen to it again, and probably more than again. I like it. But then you have a song, the next song, called One Heart. That song should have been the third single. I don't think Walking the Dog should have been a single off the album. That's just my opinion. This album is done with. It was released in 1991. But it's like, no, I don't think that Walking the Dog should have been the third single. I think the song One Heart should have been the third single. And then you get Tears of Joy. I like it. Beside Me, I like it. And then there's a song on the album. Remember what I told you guys? I told you guys that there was a song in Karen White's catalog that I was so surprised that I liked it as much as I did. And it's a song that out of all of the songs in Karen White's catalog, there's a song called Do Unto Me. And I'm like, yes. Do Unto Me is my favorite song, period, on the entire album. I love it. That should have been a single. Well, it was the fourth single release. I'm not quite sure why they didn't get as much attention as it should have gotten, but Do Unto Me is my song. I play it. I love it. Yes, it is a great song. It really, truly is. I like it a lot. And then you have a song called, of course, Hard to Say Goodbye, that song. And it is what it is. So overall, in general, to me, I'm not feeling the Karen White album, Ritual of Love. It's It's a good album. If I had to choose, it would be third. It would be Karen White, Make 'Em Do Right, and then Ritual of Love. If I had to put the albums in, in order to my favorite to my least favorite. But then again, too, it's hard to say if Karen White missed the mark with her second album. Do you get it? When you have such a huge hit like Romantic, it's a big hit for her. It's a big pop hit, and I like it. It's something about that single when it comes on. It definitely gets your attention. It does. As soon as you hear it playing, I mean, there is no way. It's kind. Oh, thank you. It's kind of like the song wakes you up. Like even when you're up, like up. You know what I'm saying? And you're already, let's say for instance, you're at a club, you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden that song comes on. It's like Romantic comes on, and you hear that beat. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, all right, it's just a great party starter. I love it. I yeah. And now that I think about it, it kind of reminds me of Secret Rendezvous as well. Great album. Yeah. It depends on who you talk to, what the person has to say about the album and the songs on the album. It's not a failure for sure. Not by a long shot to me. It's not a failure, but it definitely did not live up to, I guess, maybe this is the thing. As far as the singles are concerned, it didn't live up to the potential of the first album. But anyway, it is what it is over there on that end. If you made it, and I'm glad you made it, and if you made it to this point in the video, then I want to personally say thank you guys so much for checking me out. Hey, hang out with me, hit the like button, the subscribe button, share button, all of that stuff that you're supposed to do, over here in these YouTube streets. I appreciate it so much. My motto over here is simple. Put your behind where your heart desires to be. And you already know whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. I'm looking forward to seeing your next video. And until then, take care of yourself. I know that I will be. Thank you.